good evening and welcome to our YouTube channel Unacademy IELTS, and this is your favorite educator Gurpreet Singh. So if you all can hear me and see me, please drop a hi or a hello in the live chat so that we can make this session highly interactive. So if you all can hear me and see me, I would be more than happy to interact with you all so that we can get all our doubts and queries resolved. Hi Harpinder, how are you? Hi everybody, good evening everyone. All right. Okay. So in this session we have to talk about a perfect study plan for IELTS preparation. So before we move on, please let me know which IELTS are you taking. Are you taking the IELTS General or IELTS Academic? So that we have a rough idea of what audience do we have today. So are you taking, hi GB, hi Brahmbhat, great. Alright, so Academic, General, alright. GT, alright. Okay, cool. So before we start, please do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Okay, now before I give you the study plan, I would want to discuss some myths also. Okay, so my first question to you is, do you also think that taking as many practice tests will give you better scores in IELTS? So do you also feel this way? So do you also think that doing or taking as many practice tests is beneficial? What is your thought on this? Do you also think that you should be taking as many practice tests as you can? If yes, why? If no, then why not? So this is my question. I mean, if I ask you that, okay, so anybody who's preparing for IELTS, so they should be taking as many practice tests as they want. Is it the right approach? Okay, Harpinder says practice plus analysis is important. Okay. What do others think? GB, Brahm, Nikunj, okay. Yes, we have to build our knowledge. Practice must hai. Right. Now, I'll tell you what I believe for practice tests. Shall I just tell you what my personal observation for practice tests is? Yeah? Okay. Now, what I feel, why do we do practice tests basically? If somebody asks you what is the purpose of taking the practice tests. So, you know the Cambridge books that you get, there are 4 tests in each book and you have 16 volumes in total. So what is the real essence of doing a practice test? The real purpose of taking a practice test is to know where we stand. Am I right? Is it the real essence of doing a practice test from Cambridge books? Do you agree? The real purpose of taking practice tests is to understand where you stand, to know where you have committed the mistakes, how you can improve them. Because see, one size doesn't fit all. Am I right? So I cannot give you one strategy because we have a mixture of students. Some are at an intermediate level, some are at an advanced level, some are purely beginners. So can you say that only one strategy will work? Can we say that one size fits all? If I ask you a question that can you say one size fits all? And would it be justified if I give you my strategies? No. Why? Because I believe in self-discovery. Right? So the real purpose of taking practice tests is to see where you stand, where you commit, most frequent mistakes, how you can improve them, so that we can develop our own strategy. Am I right? That is known as self-discovery. Agree? So that you have a particular strategy for a particular question that is presented to you. So you develop your own strategy for MCQs, you develop your own strategies for reading. Some students have, the notion of reading the passage first and then the questions. Some start reading the questions and then the passage. It's purely fine. It's purely fine. Why? Because everybody has different proficiency levels. Agree? It's us. We have to develop our own strategies. And secondly, taking the practice test and checking is fine. But there's no use if you do not analyze the mistakes. How many of you do that? After taking the practice test, how many of you actually analyze the mistakes? How many of you actually analyze the mistakes? Let's say you have taken a listening test. How many of you analyze your errors with plurals? How many of you analyze the tape script? How many of you analyze the spellings? Have you ever done that? Yes, that's the real purpose. That's the real purpose, right? So there lies the true essence of doing practice tests, right? So you have to check your work. You have to analyze, because that is the only way by which you can improve your ability and you can increase your scores. Am I right on this? Great. Great, Harpinder and GB. Cool? Yeah. Okay. So let's move on then. Let's move on. Now, I have given you a very important statement on the screen that says, without a strong grip on the basics, it's almost impossible to beat the IELTS using shortcuts or other tricks. Do you also think so? Agree? This is what my personal belief says. If you want to be successful at the IELTS in the very first go, you have to have a strong grip on your basics, because it's an English proficiency exam. I again and again say it's an English proficiency exam, and without a strong grip on the basics, you won't be able to pass it through in the very first attempt. Agree? Cool. Very nice. That means you need to have a strong hold on your grammar. And not the English grammar, but grammar for IELTS. Grammar for IELTS. Yes? Okay. Next is, I will be taking you through these 4 steps today. Okay? I'll be taking you to these 4 steps today. So shall we start? How to start your journey towards IELTS success. That's the question for today's session. Right? That's the question. Okay. Cool. So there are 4 steps. There are 4 steps. Starting from, first of all, know yourself. Identify your weak areas. That is something which everybody does. But nobody works on the strengths. We take our strengths for granted. Am I right? So we feel that our listening is strong, so we'll take our listening for granted. We won't work on our listening. Am I right? That happens. Sometimes we tend to take our strengths for granted. All we do is just work behind the weaknesses, but what we ignore is the strengths. हम उनको taken for granted ले लेते हैं. जैसे for example listening, हमें लगता है कि हमारे तो listening में score आ ही रहे हैं, so why to work on that? But that's actually a wrong mindset. Agree? Agree? So weaknesses पे हर कोई focus करता है, but हम क्या करते हैं weaknesses के चक्कर में we forget to work on our strengths. So we take them for granted, right? We take our strengths for granted. Happens? It happens with most of the students. With most of the students. We'll start with the first one. Okay? All right. Now, before you start, you have to know yourself. Now, what do I mean by saying know yourself? That means you need to identify your strengths and weaknesses. Now you will question me, sir, how will we do that? Now the question is, sir, how are we going to identify our strengths and weaknesses? Yeah, that's the question. Now for doing that, there are a lot of IELTS placement tests. So you Google it, you'll get lots of tests. So you search by the name IELTS placement tests or IELTS diagnostic tests. Am I right? So if you want to see where are you currently, what level are you currently at, so for that just Google for IELTS placement tests or IELTS diagnostic test. Am I right? Right? Or what you can do is, even if you're not able to find one, you can take the comprehensive Cambridge IELTS test under IELTS conditions. So try taking these tests under timed conditions. See, you will all agree, इससे पहले हम एग्जाम की प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करें, हमें पता तो होना चाहिए ना कि हम अभी किस लेवल पे हैं एंड हाउ मच एफर्ट डू वी नीड टू रीच एट दैट पर्टिकुलर गोल. एम आई राइट? अगर आपको यही नहीं पता होगा कि आप अभी किस लेवल पे हो, सो आपको ये भी कैसे पता चलेगा कि आपको कितना कवर करना है. एम आई राइट? अगर आपको यही नहीं पता होगा कि मैं कहाँ से स्टार्ट करूँ या मेरा एक्चुअल लेवल कितना है और मुझे और कितना ज़्यादा एफर्ट डालना है सो दैट आई कैन गेट माई डिजायर्ड बैंड स्कोर. एम आई राइट? So that's why before you start with the preparation, before you start with the actual preparation, it's very important to know कि हम अभी किस लेवल पे हैं and we have to be realistic. सिर्फ ख्याली पुलाव बना के काम नहीं चलेगा. सिर्फ ये सोचते रहना कि मैं तो इंटरमीडिएट लेवल पे हूँ, मैं तो इंटरमीडिएट लेवल पे हूँ. नो, यू हैव टू बी रियलिस्टिक. अपने आप को एक प्लेसमेंट टेस्ट दो, डू अ डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट, ताकि आपको पता चले वेयर एग्जैक्टली यू स्टैंड and how much ground do I need to cover. Yeah? Agree? Clear है? Can we move on? है ना? क्योंकि देखो, the thing is, जब तक आपको यही नहीं पता होगा कि आप किस लेवल पे हो, आपको ये भी कैसे पता चलेगा कि मुझे कितना एफर्ट और कितना टाइम डालना है. राइट? तो अगर आप ये नहीं करोगे, the thing that's going to happen, either you're going to waste your time and also your money. Right? Okay. Next, it comes under knowing yourself only. See, I have written here that assess your strengths and weaknesses through a diagnostic test. So now, what kind of diagnostic, what kind of placement test should that be? It should be similar to the actual IELTS test. So the ones which I told you, which you can find by googling or by surfing on the internet, they would be kind of similar to the IELTS test. Right? So they will give you test on listening. The placement test is generally for 3 skills: listening, reading and writing. So the placement test or the diagnostic test will check your ability for these 3 skills. Okay? All right. So these diagnostic tests, so any test that you take, any placement or any diagnostic test that you would take, make sure that it is similar to the IELTS in terms of the quality of questions and its scoring. That means it should have 40 questions for listening, 40 questions for reading, and it should have 2 tasks for writing. Clear? Am I right? Okay. Now, whatever score you get, let's say you get a low score or maybe a high score, now that's not important for us. Is that अगर आप यही सोच के बैठ जाओ कि मेरे तो डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट में ही बहुत कम मार्क्स आए हैं और मैं बहुत बिलो लेवल पे हूँ, सो डू नॉट अटैच टू मच इंपॉर्टेंस टू दिस स्कोर जो आपको डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट में मिलेगा. आई होप यू आर गेटिंग माई पॉइंट. डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट देंगे, प्लेसमेंट टेस्ट देंगे, उसमें जो स्कोर आएगा दैट्स नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर अस. इट्स ओनली एन इंडिकेशन ऑफ आवर एबिलिटी, इंडिकेशन ऑफ आवर लेवल. सो आपने ये नहीं सोचना कि मैं तो कर ही नहीं सकता हूँ, आई कैन नॉट डू इट, इट्स हार्ड फॉर मी. डू नॉट थिंक दैट वे. डू नॉट थिंक दैट वे. एम आई राइट ऑन दिस? बिकॉज इट्स प्योरली एन इंडिकेशन ऑफ आवर प्रोफिशिएंसी. ठीक है? ये टेस्ट हम सिर्फ अपने लिए दे रहे हैं, ये चेक करने के लिए कि वेयर आर वी करंटली एंड हाउ मच ग्राउंड वी नीड टू कवर. कोई डाउट टिल हियर? यू गाइस कैन गो ahead and ask me. Any doubt till here? You can go ahead and ask me. Okay? Chalo. Let's move on. Now, see. Do you agree that the candidates who take the IELTS test, they are from diverse backgrounds? Am I right? The candidates who take the IELTS test, they are from diverse backgrounds. Their educational background is different. Everybody's. Am I right? So there are, thousands of students who take the IELTS exam, and all of them have different educational backgrounds. I'll tell you, Tanya, I'll tell you. So for vocabulary, you should go for topic specific vocabulary. Otherwise, there are, millions and millions of words in English language which are actually unable, which you would actually be unable to learn and memorize. So see, depending on the educational background, everybody has their own strengths. Am I right? So some people would be, strong in reading. Some people would be strong in speaking. Some people would be strong in writing. Now, why is that so? Why is that so? क्यों होता है? It's because of their educational backgrounds. Am I right? So some students are bound to be strong in one or more areas of reading. Others could have their strengths in the writing section. Am I right? It's the background that is different. So what you should do, you should take a closer look at the IELTS syllabus and how many tests should you be taking? You should take 2 full-length practice tests. Right? So take a look at the syllabus and take 2 full-length practice tests. Now what will happen after you take those tests? It will give you a fair idea of where you stand and which IELTS area you need the most improvement in. Now it will tell you that which area of the 4 skills, listening, reading, writing and speaking, you need to focus on more. Okay? So that would be reflected by this one. Okay, chalo, let's move on. Now, if I ask you, now the question arises, now the next step is to identify your weaknesses. Now, it's not that nobody has weakness. Almost everybody has one or the other. Now, if I ask you, which weakness are you struggling with? Now, think about it and let me know what is your weakness. Is it speaking? Is it reading? Is it writing? Or is it listening? So, think for a moment and let me know what is your weakness in the IELTS exam. What is your weakness in the IELTS exam? Is it speaking? Is it reading? Is it writing? Or is it listening? So what do you think is your weakness? Okay, Tanya says writing. Okay. GB says writing. Okay. So everybody has weaknesses. So you need not, be sad about it or drop your confidence. It's okay. Everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has. Nobody is perfect. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. It's very important to self-discover. Okay. Now, for some, it might be the speaking section. Now, you might have come across your friends or fellow IELTS candidates who struggle a lot with speaking. Am I right? You might have come across. Have you? So now you might have also seen yourself that there are many candidates who struggle with the speaking section also. Why? Because they do not get the environment. And that's the problem. Right? That's the problem. Most of the students struggle with the speaking section. Why? Because they do not get to use English at work. Right? That's the reason. That's the reason. Or it can be any of the other 3 sections. It can be reading, it can be writing, it can be listening based on your circumstances. And the second weakness is, now I think you guys would relate to the second point that nobody else would have ever told you. It's the ability to sit for 3 hours with proper concentration. Am I right? I should give this point 100%. The most important weakness is the ability to last those dreadful 3 hours. Am I right? Those 3 hours are kind of dreadful. Why? Because we are not able to concentrate. Right? So more than anything else, IELTS tests your power to sit and concentrate for a full 3 hours. Agree? Before, more than it does anything else, it tests your power if you are able to sit, if you are able to concentrate for full 3 hours. And it's because we are not, used to sit for these 3 hours in daily life. We make careless errors. Happens. It's just because we are not able to concentrate. It's just because we have a lack of concentration. We end up making silly mistakes. Otherwise, nobody does it deliberately. कोई silly mistakes deliberately करता है कभी? Nobody does. कोई silly mistakes कभी deliberately करता है? No. Our careless errors and our silly mistakes are actually the result of our lack of concentration. Agree? Yeah? So IELTS tests your ability if you can sit, if you can concentrate for a full 3 hours. Correct? Okay. Let's move on. So before I move on, do not forget to hit the like button, okay? Yeah, cool. Now let's move on. Now, so far we have done this. So identify your weak area in the beginning itself. Now, if you identify your weak area in the middle, would that be effective for your preparation? आपने starting में let's say अपना weakness identify किया ही नहीं. So, will that ruin your preparation now? So, let's say a candidate, he has not identified his weakness and he has started preparing for IELTS. Now, it will cost him more, right? Because he will not know, right? He will not be able to plan how should he devote his time and which section should he start first with. And that's the question by most of the students. So should I start with reading? Should I start with speaking? Should I start with writing? And should I start with listening? Now, this is for you to understand that if you identify your weak area in the beginning itself, the process would be kind of more streamlined for you. Agree? So if you identify your weak area in the beginning only, in the beginning of your preparation only, the process would be very, very smooth for you. The process would be streamlined for you. You will know how much effort to put into a particular module, how to devote more time to a particular section, how to plan and go about it, right? And second point, which is very, very important, it says in terms of the time that you spend, the improvement will be strong if you work on your weak areas. You will see a considerable improvement. Agree? Agree? So look at the second point very carefully. Happens, right? So you're going to see tremendous improvement, strong improvements if you work on your weak areas. And last point says analyzing your practice tests, analyzing the results will indicate where you need to focus. Do you need to focus on reading? Do you need to focus on speaking? Or is concentration the problem? How many of you struggle with the concentration? I guess almost everybody, right? Almost everybody. How many of you struggle with concentration? That means we are not able to last for 3 hours continuously. That's the problem. That's the problem not only with you but with many other candidates also. There will be hardly any candidate who would not be struggling with concentration issues. Yes? Agree? So the results of those tests will tell you whether you need to focus on reading, speaking, or the concentration aspect. Okay? Yeah. Let's move on. Now, as I told you in the beginning, everybody works on weakness. But what we ignore are our strengths. Agree? Sometimes while working on our weaknesses, we take our strengths for granted. We take our strengths for granted. Right? Yeah. So once you have an idea कि आपको किस किस एरिया पे वर्क करना है, किस किस एरिया पे आपको ज़्यादा एफर्ट डालना है थ्रू द डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट, देन यू कैन स्ट्रीमलाइन योर एफर्ट्स. देखो, IELTS tests you on 4 skills: listening, reading, writing and speaking, and all are well defined. They have their own rules, they have their own parameters of evaluation. Agree? So what I would advise you is, for a couple of weeks, I would say for almost 1 month, you should work on the grammar, work on the basics, getting the concepts right. And then you should be focusing on test taking strategies. See, test taking strategies can be learned almost in a month, but you cannot learn basics in 1 month, right? So for the initial weeks, you should be focusing on the basics, getting the concepts, clarifying your doubts, working through solved and unsolved examples before you take full length practice tests. Okay? I hope you guys are getting me. And this is the true scenario, not only with you, with many other candidates. Yeah? Okay. Now, here comes the question. What did I write here? In the very first point, I told you that most students take their strong areas for granted. So what is your strong area? आप सबका कोई ना कोई एरिया तो strong होगा. So what is your IELTS strength? What is your strength in the IELTS? Is it listening? Is it reading, writing or speaking? What is your strength in the IELTS? And do you work on it, or do you also take it for granted? So what is your strength? You might be having one or the other module which you would be very good at. है ना? So most people take their strengths for granted, and you should never do that. Right? So they take their strengths for granted and then they do not devote time to brush up their language. So that is the wrong approach. Right? Now there's an advantage if you work on your strengths. Now you will ask me, what, sir? What is the advantage of working on our strengths? The advantage is that once you start working on your strengths, it gives you the confidence that you can crack any problem. Right? Am I right on this? Happens now? Yeah, I'll come to that point also, Harpinder. I'll come to that point also. So the advantage of working on your strengths is that it gives you confidence that you can crack any problem. You can crack problem after problem, question after question. So initially, at least 1/3 of your preparation time, or almost 1 month, should be focused on your strong areas. Okay? Identify which courses, which books, which study material you need to address your weakness and boost your strengths. And for that, at Unacademy, I am running a lot of courses in which you can enroll, you can be a part of, and you would be getting the comprehensive coverage of the entire IELTS exam, and I would be there to motivate you throughout. So if you are not a Plus subscriber, subscribe to Unacademy Plus using the referral code Gurpreet10. You can also attend free classes and you can also be a part of our paid courses which are comprehensive, structured in line with your exam syllabus, and at a very affordable fee, top-notch training. My timings are in the evenings. So today I had 4 classes. So one I had at, what was the time? So one class I had at 10 a.m. The other one I had at 2 p.m. That was 2 p.m. was for today only. Then 5 p.m. And then I have at 8 p.m. And then I have at 9 p.m. So all these are my students. You can ask them how do they study with me, and how do they work on grammar with me. All right. Now, next is the most important problems are the ones that you get wrong, obviously. So if I ask you in listening, what do you find the most difficult? You will answer with the MCQs, right? So actually कौन सी प्रॉब्लम सबसे ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट होती हैं? हाँ, I have at 7 also today. Oh, is it? I think you have today at 7 PM also. I'll check. So the most important problems are the ones that you get wrong. I agree with this completely. Let's say you face problems with MCQs. So obviously MCQs would be the most important for you, right? And actually this is where most of our preparation lies, right? This is where you get to know कि मेरे concepts थोड़े shaky हैं. I need to work more on them. And this is where the scope of improvement lies, right? I completely agree with this point. I completely agree with this point that, you know, the area where you find the most problems, you get the greatest opportunity to improve there, right? So what you can do, you can come up to us, you know, by maintaining a list of questions that you get wrong. You can ask us that, hey sir, I'm facing problem in this, please do something about it, right? So then you can revisit this later, maybe after a week, and then after a month. So if after a month you are able to remember why did I make this error, what was the reason of making this error, so you strike out that problem solved. Otherwise keep that problem in your list till the end so that we can work on. So what I'm asking you, make a list of all the problems, all the questions which you generally get wrong. Then you go to the list, you know, revise this list after a week if that problem has been solved, or maybe after a month if it has been solved. If after a month you can, you know, understand, you can remember, okay, that was the reason why I made that error. So then you can strike out that problem. All right, that's what my strategy was when I took the IELTS exam. Okay, next. Now that is very, very important. Now is you always need to know why you got a problem wrong, right? You need to understand कि मेरे MCQs क्यों गलत होते हैं, मेरी headings क्यों गलत होती हैं, मेरे true false not given क्यों गलत होते हैं, क्या मेरे concept understanding में problem है, या मुझे रीडिंग पैसेज समझ में नहीं आता, या मुझे रीडिंग पैसेज की लैंग्वेज डिफिकल्ट लगती है. व्हाट इज द रीजन, राइट? सो आर देयर प्रॉब्लम्स विद माय कॉन्सेप्ट्स, और आर देयर प्रॉब्लम्स विद माय स्ट्रैटेजीज? हाय मनीष, गुड इवनिंग. So if you get to answer any of these questions, you go back and you study more. That's the strategy. See, there are no quick fixes. I always say there are no shortcuts. And it will not suddenly get easier in a day. It's not a school or university or college exam for which you can study a night before and you can crack it. No, it's not a college exam. There are no shortcuts. There are no quick fixes. You got to work on your English ability. Yeah? All right. Now, the next question is, what is the right time to book the exam? So do you also feel that, okay, I will first prepare for it, and when I think I'm ready, I'll go for the test? Do you also feel this way? So do you also think that, okay, I will first prepare for the test, and when I think I'm ready, I'll go for the test? So do you think that's the right approach? I want to know from you people. So do you also believe that we should first prepare for it, and whenever you think you are ready, you should go for the exam? No? So it is actually okay if you have plenty of time, but it's wrong if you are waiting for the right time, because right time and tomorrow never comes. I hope you might have heard this phrase, right? See, there are plenty of, you should not be waiting for the right time. There are plenty of people who wait for the right time which never comes, right? I hope you will agree with me that there is no such thing as the perfect time, right? So बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो वेट करते हैं कि कब उनका राइट टाइम आएगा so that they can start something, they can start a job, they can start a project, but unfortunately there is no such thing as perfect time. Don't wait yourself to be sufficiently prepared. First, if you are getting a considerable score in regular 4 attempts, अगर let's say आपके consecutive 4 mock test में consistent score आ रहा है, you should go for the exam. That's what I say. If you are getting a consistent score in consecutive 4 mock tests, then you should go for the exam. That's what my suggestion would be. Okay. Next is, when you solve mock tests or practice tests, always practice taking them under simulated conditions. That means under time constraints and with proper concentration for sure. Right? Try taking the test under simulated conditions and with proper concentration. Why am I saying you this? Because it will help you develop the rhythm for taking these tests. It will help you improve your concentration. It will improve your sitting for 3 hours. That's the reason. Agree? Because see, most of us do not have a rhythm for sitting for 3 hours. That's what I told you in the beginning as well, right? So what these simulated practice tests will do, they will help you improve your concentration and develop your rhythm for sitting for 3 hours and taking them. And next thing, feedback is very, very important. Feedback is very, very important. You need feedbacks from your teachers, just like we give you at Unacademy on your performance, so that you can learn from your mistakes and make sure you never repeat them. Always, a mistake is something which you should not be frightened about. It's just a learning opportunity, right? Even if you did not get the required score in your practice tests, that's okay. It's not something to be frightened about. It's something not to be scared of, right? So mistake should be looked as a learning opportunity. Once you have practiced 4 to 5 tests, your scores will definitely improve. Okay? If the level of the questions is consistent. And always practice authentic tests which are given by Cambridge. Write the practice essays at least a couple of times and under time restrictions. Right? Solve your writing reports and essays under 1 hour only. So, but feedback is very, very important, for which you need an expert. So like we do at Unacademy, we evaluate your writing, we evaluate your speakings in our plus classes. And how much time do you need to prepare? See, what I believe is listening, reading, writing and skills, they are skills which you acquire over your schooling period, right? These are the skills which one acquires during his or her schooling period, right? And the stronger your foundation in these subjects, the easier it would be for you to prepare, right? So I will not give you quick shortcuts and I will say you, okay, these are the top 5 words, blah blah blah. No, because it's the foundation that plays a role. Okay, start preparing at least 2 to 3 months before your test date. That's the ideal time period. Why? Because during those 2 to 3 months, your preparation would be divided into 2 parts. Initial 1.5 month where you're going to focus only on your basics, on your foundations, right? Or in the next few weeks, you will work on the test taking format, test taking skills, right? So 1.5 month for foundations, strengthening your basics, strengthening your foundations, and next few weeks focusing on IELTS tests so that you get a feel of the actual computer adaptive or paper based IELTS, right? Okay, now the next question, Why is studying our weakness a better strategy? Why does that work? Why is it a better strategy? Why should I study my weakness, and how is it going to be a better strategy? Now, students often waste time by doing practice problems on those sections which cover their strengths. If you know that you are already strong in listening, why are you wasting your time on it? Take care, do it consistently. Maybe you can do it on alternate days, but do not completely ignore it. Right? So ideally, the very first time you do a test, set an hour, 2 or 3, and do one practice test for each section. And remember, you have to do this in a mock testing situation. Keep a timer. Make sure you are free from all distractions. That means 3 hours. 3 hours means 3 hours. No getting up in between. Okay? If you think you can't do it, if you think you cannot sit for 3 hours, ask a friend or family member to proctor the test. Okay? Maybe they can give you a reward kind of thing, because I used to work on rewards. I used to ask my family that, okay, if I'm able to sit for 3 hours, you give me 100 rupees. Alright? So if you think you cannot sit for 3 hours, have a friend, have a family member who can proctor the test, and they can help you to keep on track. That's the best way. That's the best way to give a proper sitting to our preparation. And why to go through all this trouble? Why? Because once you do practice tests, you can see which your area of weakness is. And Harpinder, the question that you were asking now, what should be the first module to focus on? So after taking the practice test, you will automatically get the answer that, okay, what order or which sections should I study first? Okay, that's the answer. Study your areas of weakness first. Harpinder, I hope you got your answer. Okay. So we have to go through all this trouble for just one reason. It will give us the idea that, okay, what should be the order of my preparation? Which sections am I going to start with? Okay. So that is it for today's session. So if you truly want to enhance your band scores, you want to improve your IELTS proficiencies, so come and join me on Unacademy Plus, where we are already doing a grammar course on IELTS. And you can use the referral code Gurpreet10 to subscribe to our Unacademy platform. So there are lots of courses, structured courses which go in line. So for example, you have courses on listening, speaking, writing, and along with grammar. So I'll be coming up with again reading courses and writing courses. Unacademy provides you top-notch, world-class training, and that to a very nominal price, right? Unacademy, I would say it is the one-stop solution for all your IELTS problems. It's not like other offline institutes where you just go, solve the practice tests and you come back. No. At Unacademy, we give you comprehensive feedback on how you should improve, what is your area of weakness, and what is the right material, obviously. So you get to download all our notes, all our PDFs that we share in our Plus classes. So depending on how much time you have, you can go for 1 month, you can go for 2 months subscription or 3 months. But always remember to use the referral code Gurpreet10. Why? I'll tell you the reason. So this is the fee structure, and using the referral code Gurpreet10, it will give you 10% off. And why do you need a plus course? Because it gives you structured courses, right? That means we'll cover all topics in detail. A course consists of 15 to 16 classes, right? A course consists of 15 to 16 classes, and every month we come up with 20 plus courses in which you can enroll, and that too at a very nominal price. So one subscription gets you access to all educators, and along with that, I do live assessment of IELTS speaking and writing in our plus classes. And why Gurpreet 10? So this is the toolkit that I would be giving you once you are a part of my Unacademy Plus family. Any doubts? So I'm open to discussion now. I hope I answered all your major queries. Alright, so once you are a part of Unacademy's Plus subscription using the referral code Gurpreet10, I would be assisting you throughout your preparation in whatever way possible. Alright, so we would be there no matter what. We would be there to assist you, and we will make sure that you crack your IELTS in the very first attempt. Alright. Any other question if you people have, do not forget to hit the like button and share. Also press the bell icon so that you are notified whenever a new video goes live. Any doubt or any question if you people have? And then we'll call it a day probably. And plus students, I will see you in the 9 o'clock session. Okay? I will see you in the 9 o'clock session. Alright, chalo. So let's call it a day. So this is Gurpreet Singh signing off, and I will get in touch with you tomorrow as well. We have a YouTube session tomorrow at 7 p.m. So that's on how to achieve a band score of 8+ in your IELTS. Alright, chalo. Bye-bye. Take care everybody, and I would see you very soon. In the plus class, please get ready. We'll meet you in the 9 p.m. session. Okay, everybody. Chalo. Bye-bye. Take care, and do not forget to hit the like button. Bye-bye.